This looks like a routine award notice. It is not big breaking news, but it does point to something important right now. China is dealing with floods, drought, urban growth, food security, and coastal pressure at the same time. To track all that, you need steady views of the Earth from above. The source says the William T. Pecora Award honors people and teams using satellite or aerial remote sensing to understand land, oceans, and dare educate scientists, inform decision makers, or support disaster response. That list is a useful map of why Earth observation matters in practice. It also matters because the award accepts international nominations. So even though this is a U.S. notice, it describes a field that crosses borders. If you want to understand China's environmental choices and state capacity, start with who can measure change, how often, and for what purpose. The source is brief, but it is clear about the award's purpose. It is given every year for outstanding contributions using satellite or aerial remote sensing. The contribution can be scientific, it can be educational, it can help governments make decisions, or it can support response to natural or human-caused disasters. That range matters. Remote sensing is not just about pretty pictures from space. It is about turning repeated observation into public knowledge and action. For a China-focused viewer, that opens a sharper question. When Beijing talks about ecological protection, grain security, water management, or disaster prevention, what information base makes those claims possible? The Pecora Award points to the wider infrastructure behind such decisions. It rewards the people who make observation usable. In that sense, the award is not only about data collection, it is about building trust in maps, models, and evidence. The notice sits inside NAS as Landsat pages, and that is the key historical clue. The source says William T. Pecora was a motivating force behind civil remote sensing of the Earth from space. His early vision helped establish what became the Landsat program. That matters because Landsat helped normalize a powerful idea governments could collect long-term Earth imagery for civil use, not only for military secrecy. For China, this is part of the background story to today's geopolitical politics. China now has major Earth observation capabilities of its own. But the broader global norm of civil remote sensing was shaped in part by programs like Landsat. That changed what researchers, planners, and international observers came to expect. Regular images of farmland, forests, water, and cities became part of how the modern state sees territory. China operates in that same world of monitored landscapes, comparable data sets, and visible environmental change. There is another tension here. The award is international, but the institutions behind it are American EASI and the U.S. Department of the Interior, through the USGS. That combination tells us something about power. Earth observation is a scientific practice, but it also shapes who defines standards, archives, and legitimacy. Public satellite records can support global research in disaster response. They can also make states more legible from the outside. For China, that creates a mixed picture. Open remote sensing can help track floods, crop stress, reservoir levels, coastline change, and urban expansion. It can support better science and sometimes better governance. But it also means Chinese territory is part of a wider field of observation that foreign institutions, journalists, and researchers can analyze. So the real question is not whether Earth observation is useful. It plainly is. The question is who controls the systems, the interpretation, and the story those images tell. The source gives one immediate fact: nominations for the 2026 award are open until May 29, 2026. On its own, that is just an administrative deadline. But the larger signal is that civil remote sensing remains alive, valued field tied to science, training, policy, and disaster response. For China watchers, the practical takeaway is simple. Watch the institutions that produce usable Earth data. Watch how often they update it. Watch whether the data is public, shared selectively, or kept closed. And watch which problems leaders choose to measure most closely. Those choices reveal priorities. They also reveal limits. This NASA-USGS notice does not tell us how China will act. It does not need to. It reminds us that in a century of climate stress and strategic rivalry, the ability to observe the ground from above is not a side issue. It is part of how states understand reality and govern it.